Alrighty.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Des McKinnon.
Mcnamee.
Let's start again. Ready? All right.
Welcome back to the People Who Poo Podcast, inspiring shit from everyday people. Hit that subscribe button to help me out. Today's guest, Des Mcnamee, the woman behind Shanti Vida Creative Yoga Hub here in Barcelona. This chick is a rockstar. We talked about some pretty heavy stuff: cancer, addiction, abuse. Doesn't sound like a very happy chat. Well, you don't know Des yet. She's got such a positive outlook. She talked about how cancer is the best thing that ever happened to her, and she used all these things as fuel to get her where she is today. I'm so grateful she agreed to open up and tell me about her life, because I think she can really help and inspire others. Ladies and gentlemen, Des Mcnamee.
Remember to always be true, no matter what you do.
What's going on here?
People who poo.
What is this?
Stop what you're doing and listen.
3, 2, 1. Des McNamee, thank you so much for letting me into your wonderful space to be on the 4th episode of the podcast here. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be on People Who Poo.
I know it's the podcast that you've always dreamed of being on, and the ideal name that you've been waiting to be invited onto. So, we're in your amazing yoga space, Shanti Vida, on some of the most prime real estate in Barcelona. You can see Plaza Catalunya out your gorgeous windows here, and we'll get to this because what you've done here is amazing. But I'd really love to start with where you're from, where you're born. I hear we've got a little bit of nationality in common.
A bit of a twang. Yeah, I'm from Sydney, Australia.
Yeah.
So where I grew up?
Yeah, so you were born, because we're obviously in Barcelona now, and somehow between then and now, lots of things have happened. So
many things have happened.
So many things have happened. And you've got an amazing story. So you were born there?
In Sydney, Australia, but I moved to Germany in 2003. So when I was 23.
When you were 23?
Yeah, I moved to Munich.
Yeah.
And Munich, then Nuremberg. And then,
do you speak German?
Ja, ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen.
Ich liebe dich. That's all. Okay, I didn't even know that. This is good. I'm learning more instantly about you.
Yeah, well, I mean, back in 2003, not a lot of Germans spoke English, I guess. Or they weren't very comfortable with it, I think, in the south of Germany. So, and I didn't have a job. So I had to learn German.
Learn the hard way.
And then I was in Amsterdam, Holland for 6 years after that. So 6 years. And now I'm here in sunny Barcelona since 3 years, which was always my dream to be.
From what? From like birth?
Really random story.
Yeah.
You know, I have lots of those. But no, my mom used to have this like random flamenco doll.
Yeah.
In the lounge room. And, you know, I grew up as a dancer.
Yeah.
Like dancing, and like dancing was like such a huge part of my life. And she had this beautiful doll. And I was obsessed with this doll, and it had this, like, you know, the red dress with the black polka dots. And I would always be staring at the doll, like sniffing its face and like imagining that one day I'm going to be like this doll and I'm going to be dancing and living in Spain. And I think that it just got programmed from a really young age that I was one day going to live in Spain.
So
and
you've got polka dots, but it's...
I know, I actually... I just need my cousin.
Have you done flamenco dancing?
No.
Flamenco. I say flamingo all the time, but that's a bird.
Flamenco. Yeah. No, but it's still on the bucket list.
Because you do a lot of things here in the space. Mm-hmm. So we can jump all over the place. Let's talk about the space then, because now here you have... I did a yoga class this morning, but then you do art classes, because you have a bunch of different instructors that do all sorts of different things.
Lots of different therapies. And the idea basically is that... I wanted, it's such a long story, like where do you begin? Because I wanted... Okay,
the name, Shanti Vida.
Shanti Vida. So Shanti Vida means peaceful life. Mm-hmm. So peaceful life is basically, you know, namaste. Mm-hmm. So the idea was that when you see people and you say namaste, and you're really saying that the light in me honors and recognizes the light in you, you know, and you share this. Basically, Shanti Vida, Shanti meaning peace and Vida meaning life. we wanted to create the same kind of sentiment that when you see someone, or you can say Shanti Vida, because actually what you're really wishing for is that this other person in front of you, first recognizing their peace or wishing them peace in their life. And one of the things that I wanted to house in this hub, so it's a creative yoga hub, and it's a holistic approach to happiness and well-being.
Okay.
Yeah, so the idea was we all have challenges in our life. It's just going to happen. And it's like, how do you approach those challenges? So I really wanted to make sure that we celebrate them, because it's a learning. No matter how shitty the challenge is, or how big it is, or how small it is, I mean, we should be able to look at every challenge in our life in the eyes and like really learn how to move forward with it, take the lessons that we learn and how do we move forward. And I felt like creativity and self-love.
Some of the pillars of the space, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so talking about challenges, one of the reasons I think this space is so amazing is because you're someone who's had some very serious challenges that a lot of people come across in their lives, if not with themselves, with family members, or this sort of thing. And one of the first things I heard you were doing here was classes for people who have cancer in the family somewhere. Because, and coming from you yourself, who've had cancer, that's something that at least I thought like, oh, I hadn't heard of that so much, at least in Barcelona, and it can be really useful for so many people.
Yeah, I mean, I just finished my chemotherapy, as you know, like last August, and I had triple negative breast cancer. And I mean, that's a big story in itself, because when you're Australian and you live in a foreign country and all of a sudden you get diagnosed with this sickness, and then you realize that you're alone, actually, in a way. Like you realize the solidarity, is it right, of life and how... Solitude.
Yeah. Solidarity is what you got, like people supporting you.
Got it. All right. Solitude.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, realizing that sorry, we need to cut that.
No.
Yeah, okay. So...
Well, we can, but...
Yeah, okay. How do I get to it? So it's like...
So you're in a foreign country.
You're in a foreign country, you're alone. And there was a couple of things. So there's ways that you need to... Now I want to focus on the support team. But also, there's so much I want to focus on, because I want to focus on helping people who actually are still going through cancer. But I also don't want to forget the people who are what my husband calls it, the punching bags of the fighter sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? And I in the beginning I used to get offended by that when he said that, like, oh my God, really? Yeah. You're the punching bag of the fighter? Isn't that a bit dramatic? But recently, as we start to now 6-7 months after, as we start to heal ourselves emotionally and mentally, I start to see what he went through now that I have the capacity.
And that's what you can give to other people. And especially you were saying, like, feeling alone and being in a foreign country, this is fantastic for expats, which I mean can have exactly that. And whether it be cancer or anything else, like, I'm an expat myself, and I know, you know, you do think like, oh, if anything serious happens, how's my health insurance here compared to there, and my parents and family are elsewhere.
And looking for a support group, you know, like I realized that I've been living in Barcelona for 3 years, and I was living like a proper expat. You know, I was traveling for my job, so busy. I was flying at least once a week to different countries. I wasn't really being able to put a lot of effort into learning the language. I didn't have really a lot of solid friendships as well, people that you could count on in Barcelona. And when you think that, oh my God, now I really need people, or I need friends, it was an instant wake-up call that I had to create a community, a healthy community that was going to then become the influence of the rest of my life.
Yeah, you quit your job for this.
Yeah.
You had a very good, very well paying,
Yeah. I had
good job.
I had a very good job that I was extremely attached to. I felt like a lot of my identity was encased in my job, and it was a very, very, very difficult decision for me to kind of let go of that, because you think, really, I'm going to go and open up like a healing center and like yoga teachers are poor, like what does that even look like?
Yeah, but you're poor. Well, some are poor money-wise, but you're a pretty happy person.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What
I didn't know you before, but now it's just like, you're like one of the happiest people I know. Very hard to piss off, which is a good quality.
Yeah, but I think, but also like the system that we built here now, from all my training, from all my education of being in the corporate world, there's a couple of things. I want to create a community of like-minded people who want to offer people peace of mind, peace of life, acceptance, love, people who want to celebrate life,
All the basics, yeah.
And I want to teach them how to do that in a business model. So actually I want to make the yogis around me more successful.
Yeah.
And I want the yogis to make me more yogi.
Nice.
So this is like the exchange.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, so we're trying to make a self-sustainable house here. So we don't actually earn money. The aim is not to earn money. The aim is just to make a house where the teachers can be more creative, and that we can create plans for people like myself or even people who are sick and who need plans during that time, but also to prevent illness.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's I don't want people to think they should only come and visit you if they've got like serious illnesses or anything like that, because you do so many different sorts of yoga classes that
absolutely.
Some are more like standard yoga class for your physical and mental well-being, and then you have art. Talk about the art yoga as well.
Actually, everything is based in a method of either balance, self-love, or joy. So everything we do is based in that. So either you come to a retreat and you'll find that the first day will be with balance, second day will be self-love, third and the fourth day will be about joy. If you attend a yoga class or an art class or a therapy, it's always through the filters of balance, self-love, and joy. And what this is, we're trying to create an urban language to teach people how to move through the chakra systems, or like how to find sustainable joy. Because many times in our life, and I had this, and I feel like this is something that actually contributed a lot to me getting sick, was that I was living this really busy life and I was looking for short fixes all the time, whether that was with drugs or alcohol or sport or chocolate, whatever it was. It would give you this short lasted joy, and then after it's gone, we know that we're like, oh, and now what?
Yeah, a lot of people can associate with that, like binge drinking or so many different other things. Let's talk about drugs for a minute then. So at some point just after or near the cancer, you had an ayahuasca experience as well.
That was after the cancer.
That was after the cancer.
Well, I always wanted to do ayahuasca.
Okay.
And to be honest, I've been in therapy since I'm 5 years old. So with all the, what I like to call the jewels in my jewelry box, and some others would call them challenges. I wasn't sure, I'd had 3 tumors. So the first tumor in my feminine parts of my body. So the first tumor I had was in my spare rib.
And when was this that you were?
When I was 21.
Oh, so this is before.
So I had a tumor in what you call the women's rib, and then I had a 9 centimeter, like a tennis ball, fibroid in my uterus the year before getting cancer. So then I had like a cesarean, and then within the same year I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So during the cancer, it became really obvious to me that I had a problem, probably with my femininity. This was probably the most obvious thing, but I thought, I do so many therapies. How do I get deeper because there's something that I'm hiding from myself that I just can't get to, and therapists don't seem able to get me there either. So I knew that when I was going to have my mastectomy, that shit was going to get real, you know. I was just like, what are you going to do with it? They're going to chop off your boobs, and you know, you already have your insecurities and your issues, and it's like, what are you going to do when you're like bold and like flat-chested, and who knows what they're going to look like when they come out. So I was thinking, I need to do ayahuasca. I had always had it in the back of my mind, and then I had some wonderful friends of mine who actually went and tried it for me.
Oh wow!
First. Yeah,
that's
also
amazing.
Aussies.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so they went, and it was so wonderful. You know, of course, my husband and everyone was scared. They were like, "No, you can't do that. You're gonna vomit a lot, and you know, with the chest movement, it's not gonna be helpful." But in my brain, it was like either that or knowing that my past relation to escapism. And knowing that I have a tendency, if I just want to throw my hands up in the world, like throw my hands up and say, you know, screw that, I'm going to either drink, do drugs, or I'm just going to sabotage shit, you know, like, so I was knowing that that was probably going to come. And then just working in advance for that. I was like, I don't mind whatever's going to happen with the ayahuasca.
Confronting it head on, basically.
Exactly. I was like, was super important for me. I recommend anyone recovering from cancer to do ayahuasca, because I was already falling into quite a depression, I think, just from the lack of serotonin and what chemotherapy does to you. And it turned out to be just exactly what it is that I needed. It was just, I didn't vomit at all. And I did 4 days. So I did ayahuasca in the evening, and then, you know, 4 hours of integration therapy every next day of understanding what it is that you saw and how you felt and how to move through that. And yeah, there it was, you know, I realized the huge lack of self-love that I had. Even though I thought I was loving myself, I was doing Vipassana every year, teaching yoga, trying to like...
Vipassana is a silent retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think I realized I was doing conscious things unconsciously. You know?
Yeah, I definitely wanted you to talk about your ayahuasca experience, because we had Eric, the shaman, on the last episode, and it was good to hear a shaman's point of view, and then someone who has done it and you've had an excellent experience.
Yeah.
Someday maybe I'll talk to someone who if I can find someone who's had a not so positive experience as well, because I really I'm super interested in ayahuasca and these sorts of psychedelics and the different ways that people use them, and doing integration therapy after.
Yeah, this was key.
Yeah, because
just
it's so much information. I've
process.
never done it myself, but that sounds like it would be very useful.
I had one of the massivest.
Where Aussies can talk like that, that's fine.
One of the massivest experience that I had during the integration therapy. So let's say the second night that we had the first night we did the ayahuasca, it was amazing. You know, I was remembering all these mudras and how we can heal ourselves, and it was super romantic and lovely.
What's a mudra? Because my technical terms are horrible.
So like they're this, you know, like I was doing all these hand positions
okay,
of
cool.
your hands, and then I was the second night, I had all this like crazy sexual energy where I was like, whoa, you know, wow, I'm like a sexy beast, you know, like it was amazing. I was like, this is amazing. It's like this cosmic orgasm, and I was...
But that's amazing, especially after what you were talking about, cancer being sort of the opposite, where you're like in your sexual organs and you're worried about your femininity. And
it was completely like that.
Yeah.
So, but this was the funny thing. So I was like, wow, you know, I'm a god. I felt like I understood God, and how I'm God, how everything is God. Like,
yeah.
So the next day we were in the integration therapy, and they went around and I was feeling super happy. Like, yeah, I can share this positivity with the group. And I was like, yeah, I had all this sexual energy and wow. And that I'm a woman, I'm a mother, but I'm a father. I'm everything, understanding. And then the therapist turned around and she said to me, so why is that a problem for you? And she completely flipped this thing on its head. And I was like, oh, she said, why is it so abnormal for you to have sexual energy?
And just mess with your head.
And then I was like, oh, I don't really want to talk about that.
Ah.
And then she was like, well, that's why you're here. You came here to stop your escapism. So let's talk about that. And oh my God, it was like, and then all of a sudden I just turned around and I said to her, well, I've been sexually abused for 12 years of my life. And I was like, wow, 12 years? It just came out so naturally that I had never even thought about that duration of time. And I also didn't think about what about that pissed me off. You know what I mean? So, because that's like it's like, is it who did it? How long they did it? Like what? Because the thing is, when you're trying to recover from these things, you go to so much therapies and you're doing all these different things trying to heal yourself. But it turned out that the nuance of this thing that hurt me so much was I had been abused by 3 different offenders in my life. So the first one was like my mom's best friend's brother. Mm-hmm. And then, this person went to jail. And then the next one was my grandfather, but like my step-grandfather. And then the last time that it ever happened was actually my mother's husband. And when that happened, I never hated any of them. I never got angry. I don't know how I was processing it at that time because I was just so young. It started when I was 5. So I just always had this stuff going on. So it became the new normal in a way. But what the thing that appeared to have bothered me was that when he did that, because this man was my father since I was born, I lost my family. So it wasn't actually the abuse. I lost my mother. And so the femininity, which I thought was linked to sex.
Yeah, in what way do you mean you lost your mother? Like because you couldn't talk to her about it, or because she...
Well, my mum, the funny thing is that they say that you pick your parents before you're born. I really believe that. I feel like I picked my mother, and ever since I was born, I felt like I was born for her. Mm-hmm. I thought I was born to be a mirror of her. So when all these things happened to me during my life, I actually thought it was okay because I understood her more. Because these things had happened to her too. She had grown up in a foster system. She'd had some bad luck, whatever you want to call it. But like she wasn't able to move through it. So she tried very hard in the beginning to help me through it, But when it got to being her mother's husband again, I feel like history just repeated itself too much. And at this point, she literally lost it. So she wasn't able to look at me anymore, to talk to me. She became very violent. She was just going through her own things, And then imagine then your husband starts doing it and she reads it in my diary.
That's how she found out.
She read it in my diary, and then she was like, she just couldn't escape it. Me either, but she just like, if you look at it from her perspective.
Yeah, she's like, I would assume that I've come from an amazing family. I've never had any problems like this before. I'm super lucky. But what I hear is there's often self-blame.
Yeah.
And so from her as well, she's kind of... I would assume she's thinking she's bringing these people into your life.
Yeah, and to be honest, the conflict was with my mom for such a long time because she then let him continue living there. So that's bad education. And it continued, and then for 2 years after that, basically they kicked me out of home. So I was out of home from 14. But it was the best thing, obviously, that could have happened to me, because going home every day, if I wasn't dancing, I was going home, and every day either I was getting hit by my mom or I was going to get abused by this guy. So like every day was kind of like
pick the best of the worst.
Yeah. So actually, but the thing is that I love my mom, and I love my mom more than anything, and I understand her because I think she had me when she was 17. If I think I'm 38 years old now, if I think about what I was like at 17 with the same deck of cards, having a child, would I have known any better? I'm not sure. You know, I can't judge her for that. I absolutely can't judge her for that. And I guess the ayahuasca showed me that I just really love her. And actually what I needed to heal was the fact that I didn't have a family anymore.
How's your relationship with her now? Is she still around?
She's still around. It's funny you say that because I think that this is going to be the year that I'm going to try again. Mm-hmm. I had quite a tough year last year during the cancer because I needed her. You know, I needed her. Also, literally needed her because it turns out that I have genetic mutations, BRCA1 and 2, and I needed to know whether or not she also had it.
You've been dealt like... I don't know if I want to say a rough hand because it's made you who you are now, but you've copped any one of some of the things you've had would be enough for one person for a solid.
But the cancer was the thing that was the best thing that happened to me because what it did was, and this is the trigger actually, because when I needed to know from Mum about the genetics and she couldn't tell me, she just didn't answer me. So then that feeling of alone became even so much bigger. But what it forced me to do was to go back and revisit my entire life and work through all those jewels in the jewelry box that I was running away from. I was so embarrassed about the things that happened to me before actually doing ayahuasca.
But this is why it's so amazing that you can talk openly about it now as well.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
In front of at least 4 people.
Yeah. But even for myself to be able to say, yeah, you know what, that happened. And it happens to many people. It happens to many people. And we just need to learn how to deal with that. And actually, Shanti Vida, if I think about what Shanti Vida has ended up becoming, all those things that my jewels, let's say, that used to be like stones in my shoes and now like my diamonds in my jewelry box, you know, like it's
silly little psychological things like that, like the way you name something or the way you refer to something is such a basic way of programming yourself and the way your outlook on life and like yeah. Okay, can I rewind a little bit? At 14 you're kicked out. You kicked out. What happens? You're dancing like so because at 14 you're not working yet, I assume.
No, so at 14 was the first day I ever swore at my mother. I called her a bitch.
To be honest, like I would have done it earlier, so well done. You're a saint.
I know.
Called her a bitch.
I called her a bitch, and
which is light also, I would say.
But she was really being a bitch this day. So and my stepdad, he heard me do that. And of course I was, we had a very strict house, never answer back, never, and I played by the rules. But that day I just couldn't help it anymore. She was ignoring me and being juvenile. And then I was like, I just wanted to talk to her. And then I called her a bitch. And then in that moment, my stepdad walked into the kitchen and he was like, leave. And there I was with no shoes on, bike pants, and just like, okay. So I literally turned around. I ran out of the house. I ran up to the street to a friend of mine. I made a reverse charge call from a phone booth.
I remember when those used to exist.
Yeah. And you could make phone reverse. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know. Crazy, right?
How old are we?
And then her brother came and picked me up. And they knew actually that I was, my best friend knew I was still being abused at home. So for me, it was like, maybe I can actually get out. Because I was at the point of wishing that I would die, because I couldn't, it was just so much to digest at that age, you know, like it's easier not to be there. Like it was just a feeling that way. But obviously I would never have done it because I was too afraid of, raised in a Catholic school, I was really afraid of going to hell.
It's great. That's great that
yeah, so that really works for something.
That saves a lot of lives.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, my mom basically came and she dropped off all my clothes to my friend's house the next day in garbage bags. And then I ping-ponged around.
So how was it? How was that? Was she pissed off or?
Yeah, she ended up
Nothing?
taking me to court. She took me to court maybe a month later, trying to charge me with being uncontrollable.
She took her 14-year-old daughter to court.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, she tried to charge me with being uncontrollable. And then basically, I mean, the docs officers, everyone in my school knew. They were always sending officers to the school trying to get me to talk about what was happening at home. Mm-hmm. You know, it was obvious when a kid is going through that. So I never got in trouble at school, which was a great thing. They never called my parents when I did anything wrong. Isn't that sweet?
That's lovely.
Yeah. And my priest at I was so lucky because my priest, for example, and the teachers at my school were so wonderful. Like I always had
That's good for people to hear too, that there are good priests, because they've been getting a very bad rap lately.
Yeah, no, my priest came like most lunchtimes talking to me, helping me understand ideas of death, not to have fear of death. I was really afraid of things. And, you know, I was quite an aggressive child because I thought beating people up was normal because I was getting beaten up so much. So like I thought that if someone talks to you bad, you just smack them. You know what I mean? Because that's what...
It's so funny hearing this
from
you now, because I'm
imagine,
like, what?
Yeah, imagine.
I would pay to see you smack someone.
Yeah, oh my God. No, but like how terrible that is, how terrible. I could never do that now. And actually when I then later moved into refuges, like this is like where homeless kids live.
So sorry, I back up. So you're 14, your mum drops the garbage bags at your friend's house.
Yeah.
And then you're at your friend's house for now?
Yeah, I'm at my friend's house just for a few weeks. And then, like I said, I like moved around everyone tried to help me, which is like looking back on that. Wow, I lived at all my dancing teachers' houses. The most wonderful thing that happened during that whole shitty time is that I got to see the wonderful compassion of humanity.
Yeah.
Because everyone wanted to help this scrappy kid. You know,
this little kid going around slapping people.
But at the same, I had like two worlds because I was a dancer, so I did ballet, tap, jazz, contemporary, and that was my space for femininity. But in school, where I had to like protect myself, I felt, and because we grew up in a place called Doonside. I don't say that very often.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it exactly sounds like what it was, and it's a little bit. At that time, it was a bit ghetto.
Okay.
And so I went to a Catholic school, which helped. Because
fear of God makes people behave a little better sometimes.
And also it's a paid school. Yeah. So like and I guess children who have parents who are trying, a bit better off, maybe. I don't know. But I had lots of people helping me until it just got too much. I had expired all my people because I guess I was going through.
You were still at school?
Yeah, I tried my best to stay in school. So until I ended up in a refuge. So I ended up in this refuge where you can only live for 3 months at a time. So
you're still 14 or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I moved like 22, like it's crazy, 22 times or something. It was like, there was no stability at all.
You'll make a movie about your life someday.
Yeah, I guess so. And in the refuges, it was really like, that's where you get to learn that I knew there was something different. Like, this is so strange because I was the only one without a criminal record. And I saw a kid bite off a policeman's finger. You know what I mean? Like, these kids that go through the system are so damaged. And I've been damaged, but for some reason there was something inside, be it something from a strength from a past life or something, but
you didn't go past a certain point.
I didn't hate anyone. I didn't have anger. Yeah, I was hitting people because I thought that was normal, but not because I was angry at them. You know, they're like, and maybe that was a spell for a couple of years until I was re-educated by my teachers and whatnot. And I probably did it a handful of times, you know. So moving into these refuges and you're seeing like people who have grown up through the foster care system, especially, they were really affected. And for me, it was like, okay, like in the prison movies, you know, you got to find that biggest, strongest person in this place because you
beat them up.
No, God, by then I was completely different.
Okay, normally in the movies, I thought it was like you find the weakest person and beat them up.
No, so I was probably
I've never been
hitting kids when I was probably about like 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
By the time I hit high school, like my whole self-esteem was shot, you know. After the last round of sexual abuse and stuff like that, I was at a loss, let's say. And the things had really, really changed then. And when I went into this refuge, so I was really looking for survival mode. I'm going to find this strongest, most liked person. I'm going to do whatever they say. Because I'm definitely going to get robbed. That's for sure happening. But I don't want to get beaten up, or I don't want to get worse off, molested, or whatever can happen in these places. So then I met a girl. She was a 16-year-old prostitute and a heroin addict. So basically my first day in this thing was also the first day that I ended up doing heroin. Because Day one, because I felt like I had to do it.
Yeah.
And there was no other way, because I couldn't be cool in any other way because I didn't have any fighting skills or, you know, nothing else that anyone would be interested in. You know what I mean? So I had a payment check from the government because I was now in the system where I had DOCS offices, Department of Community Services offices, where I had to just check in every 2 weeks. They just had to know where I was living, but I was like officially without parents. So yeah, that spun a whole different cycle to my world, because I mean, before you know it, we were using like 3 times a day, or, you know, living in King's Cross with bouncers, strippers and prostitutes. But I'm so lucky again because I never became a prostitute.
Dude,
isn't that amazing?
I keep looking at where you've ended up, and I'm like,
yeah,
like I would have, I don't know what would happen to me.
But I'm so lucky, you know, they never took advantage of me. Like people say that junkies don't have, you know, like respect or anything like that, but I just had like some kind of angels taking care of me. You know, I begged for money on the street. My stomach still like, when I have homeless people sitting on Plaza Catalunya every day, and I look at them and I really have such a, especially when I see that they're on heroin, I still get like squirmy inside, you know.
But that's something a lot of people, you know, no one says, hey, I'm going to be homeless, you know, or no one says, hey, I'm going to be a heroin addict. It's like
it just happens.
Some bad cards dealt sometimes. And, you know, a lot of people see homeless people and sort of think, yeah, well, you know, they've done something to end up there or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Some, sure, but in general, it's, you know, things can go surprisingly south, surprisingly quickly.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone.
Yeah, but I actually think that it helped me. I'm really grateful for the time that I did that, because I think that it gave me it was like medication. I had at least like a solid year of not thinking about how my parents didn't want me, you know? So I'm actually grateful for what happened with doing that. And somehow I managed to get off it. You know, I ended up in rehab a couple of times, but then I fell in love with a boy. And oh my God, like.
This is in Australia still?
Yeah. So I fell in love. And this guy, you know, it was so ridiculous. But obviously when you don't have any other like family and you think you love someone, he becomes the whole center of your world. And he became the center of my world. And he just said, I don't want to be dating a junkie. So that was it. I was like, well, then I'm not going to be a junkie then.
Problem solved.
Yeah, it took me a while, like a couple of relapses here and there. But, you know, I went back to school. And again, like a fantastic school system. My priest had actually got me into another Catholic school for high school. They were all aware of what I was going through. Even going to school with hands purple, arms purple of track marks, you know, they still supported me. And I had an on-call counselor like that I could have access to at all the time. Like I was so much love, you know, and then I ended up moving in with my boyfriend's family by 16, and he had an incredible mother, South African family, you know, and the mum was like the queen of the house and someone who like demanded respect, and this elegant sister. And I was like, wow, these women are amazing. And I just wanted to be just like them. So I found myself imitating them.
That's good.
Yeah. And then thank God for them, because they taught me manners and, you know, and respect. And it was a big thing to take in a girl into their home with the community talking and, you know.
Yeah, especially Catholic schools and that sort of thing. And I don't know.
And
if
also, it sounds a bit funny, but I was a white girl as well.
And they weren't?
They were of color. But at that time, for them, they had their own conflicts with race and things going on and stuff like that. So, but the thing is, I was never seen like that. But, you know, they would sometimes be talking about the different colors of people and things, you know. So I knew what a challenge it was for them and that people would talk. But it was like the whole community ignored the fact that I was living there. So it was like the whole community, the South African community, had supported me living there, and everybody I would go to random people's houses and help them with their gardening and stuff like that. You know, they were always like cooking me vegetarian food because, you know, they were like loving me all the time.
Nice.
Yeah. So
you managed to finish high school?
I managed to finish high school.
And then how did you get to, was it Germany next or?
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, when me and that guy broke up, that was like the most devastating thing for me. And I was in Japan for a bit, just for a few months, but just to try and recover from that relationship.
Okay. More like
cabaret dancer.
Wow.
Yes.
I can tell you're amazing yogi because I can't stay cross-legged, but you're killing it.
Yeah.
Cabaret dancer, nice.
Yeah, that was crazy. I've lived in
Japan, but I didn't see any cabarets there. What sort of like?
So it's like Moulin Rouge, like imagine big feathers, kicking your legs up, kind of things. And yeah, it was good for the time that it was. And then I came back and I thought, you know, I'm just going to start working in retail and then go back to school. Like ended up going into night school. Amazing relationships. I do have a pattern. And the pattern is that I've always had amazing, very straight partners.
Okay.
And I've been so lucky in the relationships that I've had, like with men and their families. Like I've never really had a relationship that hasn't been ridiculously profound. So I'm also when I hear girlfriends talking about their shitty relationships, oh my God, the first guy I had sex with, I stayed with him for 6 years.
Wow.
You know, chosenly had sex with. Like, I mean, and it was about it was like the compensation for all the shitty things sexually that had happened. I had like an amazing partner that made me feel safe, you know. And then so then I had various relationships. I could actually segment my life probably into the different relationships that I've had. And then one day I met a German guy in the store I was working, and at this time I was super disciplined, earning good money, studying school at night, living with a gay boys, a gay couple, 2 dogs, feeling really happy, you know, picture perfect, the dream. And then I met Christopher, who was later going to become my first husband.
Okay. I didn't even know you were married.
Yeah.
Learning so much.
Yeah.
And this was in Germany.
Yep. And he was a German consultant. So basically, I was going to go walk the Camino de Santiago de Compostela. It was always my dream to go there, do this walk, go to Barcelona and learn flamenco. Because coming back to that dough, it was really like, if I do that long walk, I will learn the soul of the people like a meditation. And then I can move to Barcelona and then I can learn how to feel the dance, you know. Yeah. Not knowing that it's originally from Seville and it's a completely different temperament, you know, like from your Australian idea, this sounded like a good idea.
Yeah.
So anyway, I ended up coming to Germany and I never left. So, and we got married after 6 months because we were like, are we going to let bureaucracy like not let us live together and see what this relationship is? We were like, we don't need prenups or whatever. We just agreed to never screw each other over.
Okay.
And then this guy, he educated me. He was like, okay, if you're going to live in Germany, you need to have your same independence as you had in Australia or you're not going to be happy. So he was giving me like strategic planning school on the weekends. Excel, from Excel to mathematics to like everything that, like, look at that. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say he screwed you over, but no.
No. Like, super tough on me. You know, he was like, you're going to go to German school. You're first going to learn German. Then you need your driver's license. But really structurally put me on my own 2 feet. And that's what he was meant for.
Almost a dad figure by the sound of it.
That's probably why we broke up, because it was like, in the end, we had lost all the sexiness, you know, and it just became like me trying to please someone.
That
I
famous
could never...
German sexiness got lost.
Yeah. Bless him. I'm so grateful to, like, my first relationship, I think literally saved my life.
Yeah.
And this relationship flipped my world on its head. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sounds like you got all what you needed when you needed it.
Exactly. Like, what a wonderful life that is, huh? Mm-hmm. And I remember us sitting in Kitzbühel, you know, Kitzbühel, like this really fancy ski place, and I'd never seen snow before. That was really quite an experience, the first time smelling and seeing snow falling over in it, just like seeing it come from the sky. You're like, what? That was such an incredible thing for me. And we were sitting at some rich person's mansion, you know, and everything looked like a Christmas book. And I was just sitting there thinking, oh my God, I used to sit on milk crates on the street.
I've made it.
And I can still smell what my feet used to smell like, because it's really, really just terrible smell, because I only own 1 pair of shoes and Air Max, funny enough.
Good ones.
Yeah, Air Max and no socks.
Wow.
So this smell was pretty bad.
Actually, that's something, talking to homeless people on the street here, that's, if anyone wants to know, that's one of the things that they most require or desire, socks. And actually this guy really liked lemons for the vitamin C, like lemon juice, and I think they also use it to wash their hands a bit better and things like this. And then bananas. Yeah. Here they get, it's funny, they get too much like bread, like normal bread, and chocolates and stuff. This friend was telling me at Christmas,
amazing to see like so many people giving, but they're giving like what they would like to receive themselves, like chocolates and things like this, because that's a sweet. But if you're a homeless person on the street,
you need vitamins.
You need
and
vitamins.
stuff
You need like nuts and proteins, things like this, and then it's amazing to get all these.
You're right.
These gifts. But if people were a little bit more educated, maybe in what the guys need, it could be even better.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh.
Yeah, so
smelly feet.
Smelly feet.
But
realizing
kicks.
and realizing that we're sitting there in this mansion in Kitzbühel and this fame, just thinking, life is amazing, right? To be able to understand these two spectrums of being alive. And I thought I knew it then, and I was 23. And then, but then oh my God, it's so funny. I realized as I say it to you, I knew so much when I was 23. And then I got addicted, let's say, to running away from my past. Maybe when I realized it as I'm saying it to you now, when I did start to have to circle in those groups. Mm-hmm. And we were around all these people with money.
The rich groups you mean in Germany? Yeah.
Mm-hmm, and like corporates and sitting in this BCG consultant offices. And I was like, the girlfriend of blah, blah, blah. Like, and you have manners. And then I guess I started to really try to get far away from my past. I didn't want anyone to know God. It's the first time I ever said that I lived in Doonside out loud here with you.
Exclusive.
But because it's really sometimes I'm still learning how to accept it, and that's how I think I started to develop all these sicknesses, the cancers and stuff like that, because I tried to hide these things that happened to me because I was ashamed of what I had been through, rather than being proud as hell that, like I have this unshakable energy and self-awareness inside of knowing that I can survive anything while I am breathing,
So you obviously feel that the cancer and those sicknesses came from mental, psychological, all this sort of stuff, which is great that you mentioned that, because a week ago, we did it together. We just did the Wim Hof seminar here in Barcelona, and he as well. There's a lot of people now who believe that obviously there can be other factors, but that you can greatly affect your defense system on diseases,
exactly.
Even things that people, most people wouldn't generally think, if I breathe a bit better, maybe I'm less likely to get cancer. But Wim Hof's a guy whose whole system
the pH
goes on that.
The pH, I'm a big fan of his talking about making alkaline and acidic body, and having like the perfect alkaline body so that your body can fight off any nasty bacteria or diseases. And one of the best ways of doing that is through oxygenating your body, eating greens,
lemon and Himalayan salt water.
But bicarbonate soda. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. I still pee. I still pee on pH strips.
Exclusive.
Because it's really important for me to know now that my body, because I have the first 3 years of my cancer, triple negative, is really crucial that it doesn't come back in different parts of my body. So now I really need to make sure that my stress levels are cruising, and that pH level thing for me is...
I'm interested to know if the modern medicine side told you any of that. No. Nothing about.
But that's what we want to do. Like, going back to your question that I never actually answered.
Thank you, because I'm not always good at stabbing back.
No, because you were saying that I wanted to create this place for cancer people.
Not just
cancer people, but like cancer people. How eloquent is that? But
she's allowed to say that because she was one. So
I'm in the cancer gang. No, but I've been working with my hospital, Kiron, and I have a fantastic oncologist who was really supporting me and all the different holistic therapies that I started to do. And as soon as I've got all the yoga teachers and the house is kind of a little bit more self-sustainable, then yes, you're right. I want to go and help. I want to be there for the patients of all the hospitals and just create a space where they can come and get educated on all these things, because we have like art therapists, we have coaching, we have Reiki, we have acupuncture, we have everything in the house. And
Still growing too.
It's still growing.
Because how long have you been open now?
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yeah. 8 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. But it feels like I've been doing it forever. Like this plan has been cooking in my mind.
And what's awesome is like actually give it anyone who's listening to this and likes the sound of it and could maybe bring something else to the space. Like I love that you're super open for anything.
To collaborate.
So
yeah. Whoever wants to
shout
share
out.
love and has a good idea, you know, this is what it's all about.
What's the best way to get in contact with you? Over Facebook or
Instagram? Probably Instagram, La Shanti Vida. Pretty easy to remember.
Super easy, and we'll throw up. I'll put the tags underneath the YouTube video, and for those listening to this on the podcast app, it's La Shanti Vida on YouTube. LASHANTIVIDA.
Yeah. Got it. Boom.
Nice.
Yeah, so but I think that yes, again, I do think that all the stresses of working in a corporate and running away from my former self played a huge part in me getting sick. And I think that mental and body connection, I feel like my soul and my mind had a war, and the tumor was the result of that war, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I needed my soul and my brain, you know, just to realign on how to proceed. And I needed to change my entire life because I was so empty and beating myself up about things rather than celebrating, like all that shit that goes into the compost. You know, this is like a gorgeous flower now. You know what I mean? Like the better the shit, the bigger the flower, you know? I don't know.
That's such a good expression. You should have that on a t-shirt because that's amazing. I've never heard that.
Yeah, but you know, but like if you like
you've
imagine
had some
it, so
fucking
visual.
bad shit. So
yeah, but it's
amazing.
But
I
now,
love that.
but now, you know, we had our first retreat in Monsane maybe 6 weeks ago, where you helped us set up.
Yeah.
And I did 8 coaching therapies, 8 coaching sessions, and it was so wonderful that I could sit there and every person that sat in front of me, I could really understand what was going on. You know, I can not just hear the words, but I can feel beyond what they're saying, what's going on, you know, because you know it, and it's a gift.
And you've got like some serious experiences that can help you with that too, like
and not looking at it from the place of victim. You know, like a lot of people, they can't help it. They fall into victim mode, but it's only because they don't understand the education or they don't have the connections how to get through it. So now, without saying to someone, stop being a victim, because that's the worst thing you can say to a victim. Someone who's in that mode, who's like not sure how to move through that.
Yeah.
The best way you can do that for us is like through art, through exploring rather than calling it a problem. It's like, wow. Like me, I used to wear tutus to chemotherapy.
Used to what, sorry?
I wore tutus. I dressed up.
Wow, to chemotherapy?
Yeah.
I've got to get a photo of that for the Instagram.
Yeah.
For you. That's going to be the photo of the...
And I would wear, like you can see, like I would try to make like costume camps in my chemo room, and the doctors would dress up when they came in to change my bags. And I was like, I'm not going to have bad photographs in my mind of what this was.
Wow.
And, you know, people would smile at me. So then actually, and it was like chemotherapy became like my birthday.
Wow.
There would be like 300 people writing me. I'm like, chemo day. And everyone would be writing me on like Facebook and Instagram. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, you know, and I felt like supercharged going to chemo. You actually forget where it is that you're going.
Yeah.
Until you have the first bag going, then you're like, bleh. But it was like a party up until the the first bag, you know, and then you're like out.
That's amazing though. I've never heard of that, but that's probably like one of these philosophies that hospitals across the world can take on.
I
like
would
dress
love
up,
it.
like a dress up day for school or whatever. Dress up for chemo.
I would love. There was a couple of like. There's so many things that you could do. I would love someone to go and teach knitting, playing with color and materials. Teach knitting to people in chemo chairs. We're there for hours and hours. What can you do that's kind of fun in a chair that's not, oh, poor me, I'm going to read a self-help book.
Yeah.
You know, like forget about self-help in that moment.
Yeah.
Just be inspired by colors and
design your next outfit for the next chemo
that's
session.
what I would do. Yeah. And like did henna painting on my head. I had like strategical outfits.
So that just reminded me as well. Here you do
Body painting
and like I like that you've got it's one space, but you've got all these niches as well, because obviously like people who have cancer in the family, well, I guess it's not a niche, but it's a specific thing. And then you also do classes for pregnant women to let them know about postnatal
depression.
Yeah.
I actually think that women, and this sounds super random, and I hope that nobody's offended by it, but I actually think that when I was recovering from the chemotherapy, there's a few things that happen that people don't really realize. First of all, your brain doesn't work anymore like it used to. Mm-hmm. You have like a lot of memory loss and well, some people, me, I had like that. Like sometimes I couldn't even read during the chemotherapy. I couldn't connect the words to sound, because it just, I don't know, it just wasn't sometimes working, you know? And when you're a person like who's
bubbly and
working in a big corporation and used to multitasking and getting shit done, then you're like, yeah, what's going on here? You know, that was like a huge change. I think that you have that. You don't look the way you used to. So now your head isn't bald anymore, but you got these little like chicken fluffs, and it's like growing back, and you don't feel as cool. You know, you're maybe a bit fat because like you haven't been able to do any sport. Things are just like, wow, but you got to rock it anyway, you know? Mums, I think, go through a similar kind of process. People think when your hair grows back, okay, it's time for you to jump back into life now. But you're like, oh my God, now I'm completely, don't even know what to do anymore. Everything has changed. Mm. And mums, think about them. The baby's out of the belly. So they've got more weight than what they want to have. Their whole life has just changed. Everyone just expects them, oh, you're a mother. So they put them in the bucket like you're a mother like all the other mothers. So you can just do the mother thing and just get on with your life. But their whole world has just changed. And
there's also like, well, other than like fear, responsibility, and there's like a chemical.
Exactly. And that's the same as like what I had and why I went to the ayahuasca, is because there's no serotonin. No matter how much I tried to jumpstart my body or my brain without finding new short fixes of joy, let's say, of like trying just with chocolate drugs or whatever. Yeah, mums, I think, go through a similar thing. So we do creative workshops, not telling them it's about postnatal depression, but celebrating them.
Sorry if I ruined the surprise.
No, but like celebrating them and empowering them.
Yeah, it's all fun.
Yeah, before they have the baby, it's like helping them to create anchors and association, positive association as to why they're going to have this magnificent human being, and like what is the joy and the fun that you're hoping for that new life, you know? Like if you're remembering like when you were a kid, do you remember like when you would go to the beach and you would run into the water and you can like hear, you can almost hear yourself still scream like when the waves came to like get you and you're like running out like trying to get away from, like, you know, like these kind of memories, and then turning that into body paint, painting this woman in that, and then photographing her and just saying, remember this. Yeah. Remember this for when stuff gets tough, you know?
And it's amazing to have for your kid later to see like this
it's
is
a
you
birthday present.
Already lovely painted.
A 0 birthday present, you know? Because this is like what the mum desires for her child. It's so intimate and special. Yeah, and this is one example of a creative workshop that we love to do. And I mean, we have such talented, I feel so lucky to be surrounded by, like, wow, my whole life it's incredible. I get to wake up every day and have these amazing hugs and get incredible feedback and design like beautiful things, turning other people's stones into diamonds. You know, like,
amazing relationship now too. You've got an amazing husband. You've got an amazing business. You've got. So what's the future? What's the dream for you and for Shanti Vida? Maybe separately or maybe together. Like,
well, Shanti Vida now is my life. It's my lifestyle. So I don't want a job in life anymore. I just want a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It sounds really strange, but I just want to share and spread as much love as possible, because when I first got diagnosed, and again, coming back to that lonely, oh my God, abandoned feeling, the worst idea for me was that I was going to die, and I had no idea why my life mattered. It was like, what sense did it make? Yeah, I had all these things that happened in my life, and what have I done with all of that? Like, there was nothing that I did. So it was like, oh my God, I need a purpose. No matter if I live for 3 months, 3 years, 3 decades, it's like, I need to know what it is that I gave back to the world. Mm-hmm. So I really just want to serve that. I want to, in all my years of doing Vipassana and doing all these things now, I really just want to die with peace of mind. I really want to die knowing what it was that I added to the world, and being really proud of, not even proud, but just
happy and okay with it. So you want to live loving and giving, and then die.
Yeah, and I want to help other people.
With everything. Yeah,
and I want to help other people feel like that too, because I've seen so many people, and I had it also, like, we hurt ourselves because we've been hurt. And like, 2 wrongs don't make a right, you know? So we've got to change that. So, you know, we really have to just like, okay, you don't have another choice. If you really want to move forward, and actually, it sounds crazy to say that all my abuse and my drugs and all this was like jewels, but they were. Because if you can see, like, this place where I am, I don't need an education for that. My education was life, you know? And to be able to build a whole business on all that shit, and be able to like love and create and do what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're an inspiration. That's why I really wanted to talk to you.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think that's the perfect note to end it on. And I'll leave the details below this so people can get in touch with you, whether they want to come and bring something to the space, learn from it, attend one of your retreats. Thank you so much again for being on People Who Poo Podcast. I just wanted to say the name again because I know you love it.
It's so funny.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How awesome is she? If you know someone who could benefit from this, please pass it on and check out the awesome work Des is doing at shantivida.org. Links are below, or just pop by the studio and take a class. Thanks for tuning in. Drop me a comment if you have any thoughts on this podcast, ideas for future guests, or send me an Instagram, or send me a pigeon, or Instagram me a pigeon. Bye for now.
Remember to always be true, no matter what you do.
What's going on here?
People who poo.
What is this?
Stop what you're doing and listen.
You may have